Welcome back, everybody. This is the Recommended by Fred channel. I'm Paul, and we're continuing with the John Deere B restoration project. You may notice the B looks a little different from last time you've seen it. We cleaned it, we wire reeled it, and we painted the inside with Gliptol. Gliptol is an enamel paint formulated to insulate electric motors. This paint has excellent adhesive properties, and it will also reduce the damages from condensation in the main case. The first thing that goes into main case is the power takeoff gears and shifter. But before we do that, we're going to check the tolerances on the bearings, and Dad's going to help me with that.
First, we go to our John Deere service manual, number SM 2004 for the John Deere B tractor. Serial numbers 2100 and up. Actually, it's for the older ones too, but it's got both in it. Anyway, we went through there and went through the procedure, and we made a list here of all the different things that we need to check. So we will go through those, and we have the tolerance, and then we'll have what the actual value is and write it down. Paul is going to use a 1 to 2 micrometer and measure the bearing surface on the bevel pinion for the PTO. He's recently learned how to read a micrometer, so he's going to wow us with his micrometer reading skills right now. So what do you come up with there, Chief?
It's 1.350.
350. Well, according to the book here, it can be between 1.374 and 1.375. So that is a go. We can use that part. What about this one here?
Let's see.
Measure that. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I wouldn't do that either. There we go. All right. All right. So he's getting the feel for here. And this is riveting. Are you gonna get it done today, or
Done.
all right? What do you got?
$1.475.
1.475. No, I don't think that's it. Let me read here. Looks like, come on, GoPro, focus. It says, no, I won't do it. You just have to take my word for it. Looks like it's 1.499 and 300ths. So 1. Okay, can you see it? 1.499 to 1.500. So that is right in the middle of the spec. So those shafts are both good. Now we get to use the telescopic gauge to measure these bearings. Now, Paul loves the telescopic gauge, doesn't you? Those take a little finesse. Now, I'm gonna do that and he's gonna hold the camera. So we'll do that next. This is a telescoping gauge. You turn this knob and they spring out. Close it and it holds them in there. So the way I always do it is I put it in there like this and kind of cock it sideways like that and twist that knob and then tighten it back up. And then you see if you can get the camera down at this level right there so you see what's going on in here. I'll try to get out of the way. Anyway, you try to hold this side of it still and you try to split the difference here. See how I'm rocking it back and forth, kind of twisting on it. Try to get in the middle and you just go wipe it like that. See? And that should get us pretty close accurate measurement. It's kind of a feel thing, and Paul got it about 75% of the time. He started getting a lot better at it as he went on. So our spec for this bearing is 1.374 to 1.375. No, that's the shaft dummy. 1.377 to 1.379. So we are at 1.75. We're at 1.378, which is right in the middle of the spec. So that is perfect. Alright, so we got it cocked in there sideways a little bit. And we're gonna get the middle and then just rock it, pivot on that one side and sweep it out. And we'll measure this with the micrometer real quick. Should have been ready with my micrometer a little quicker, huh? Okay, so it appears that it's 1.503. And the spec is 1.502 to 0.1504. So right in the middle of the spec, we're good to go. We can put parts together now. The first part we're going to put in here is going to be this shim here that is for, it's a thrust shim or thrust washer, and it's made out of some, like a plastic. Now we measured the thickness on this and it was right where it needed to be, and it goes right here on the inside of this. You might want to go around on the other side and look how it went in there. You see it? I got some 30 weight motor oil in here. Put a little bit in on this bushing, and I put it on this thrust surface. Now, when these are basically submersed in gear lube whenever everything is, before we even start it. But for right now, I'm just basically putting it in there, but who knows how long this is going to be before we actually have this full of gear lube, and we may need to turn it over several times, and it may give us incorrect readings if it was slightly draggy or something. So we just put a little oil in there just for a little extra. Now I got this snap ring in here, but sometimes they don't quite seat. You see that, how it went snap? So that snap ring is installed into that shaft like it's supposed to be. Okay. Next we put the shaft pinion in. We put the sliding gear. This is what goes back and forth on the shaft, and that's what it connects with the gear on the counter shaft that runs the PTO. So got to put that in there before we can put everything else in there, or we won't be able to get it into the shaft. So you set it down in here like this, and once again, it's like I said, you just put a little dab of assembly lube on there, and that's just so it doesn't rust in the meantime while we're working on other portions of the tractor. And we put it in there like that. Then we got this ball bearing. We cleaned it up. This ball bearing was in excellent condition, so we cleaned it up real good, and we're going to use it again. We will probably have to get a little mallet and tap that onto the shaft. So let's stop there and I'll go get a... All right. Tap that into position, if it will have anything to do with it. Okay, so we have that onto the shaft like this, and we got it meshed. We have it meshed into our pinion gear like that. So we need to get this all the way put onto the shoulder. If you take the camera and look, there's a shoulder on there. I don't know. Can you see it from that angle, Paul? You may have to get up here and go from down there. See how there's a gap right there between the shaft and the bearing? Now I'm using a rawhide mallet so I don't destroy the shaft in any way. And then we put that in there like that, all right? So now we're going to get the cover and the bolts and the gasket, and we're going to show you how to set these gears up to get the correct backlash, or if you put them in there too tight, they'll basically grind themselves into dust and you'll have a PTO. Now that we have this pinion shaft installed, we need to adjust the depth of the pinion shaft into this gear here. So how that is done is over here on the outside of the case, right here, there's this cover. And if you notice in this cover, there's a step milled into it that accepts this bearing. You have to change different thicknesses of gaskets to get your pinion to go in or out to get the correct clearance between the two gears. So I have made 2 gaskets here. We had the 2 gaskets installed onto the bearing retainer here, and we thread this bearing retainer into the main case, and you make sure that the bearing is seated into this bearing retainer here. So we'll tighten these up right here. Snug them down pretty good. Okay, come around back to this side. All right. So now we make sure that the bearing is seated in here. Hopefully I could do this without hitting my setup on my gear or on my indicator here. So now that the bearing is seated into the bearing retainer on the outside of the block. That is, and we've hit it with the hammer, although it's a rawhide hammer, so it doesn't tear it up or make any marks. We pushed this shaft as far as it can this direction, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this gear until it pushes our indicator here. Okay. Of course, our indicator is, for some reason, being a problem. What is going on here? Alright. Oh, come on. Alright, so we've got the bearing in this shaft seated all the way to the right into the bearing retainer outside. We got our 2 shim gaskets added onto it. So now we're going to check the free play of these gears. The spec is between 6 thousandths and 10 thousandths. We're probably going to try to shoot from the middle to the high side of that spec. These are going to be running in, you know, really thick gear lube. So they need to have, if they're a little bit on the loose side, it's okay. So from what I'm seeing, it's probably what, about 9 thousandths? Maybe 10 at the most. So I'd say we are in the correct tolerance. And these gears will run a good long time like that.
This is a shifter fork. We use this extension to hold the detent spring and ball, which are inside the shifter fork. We're going to put in the shifter fork. Then we're going to get the detent shaft and put it in from the outside.
We thread it into the main case. And hopefully
we do not lose the detent spring and ball. It was a success.
There you go. Now we gotta get his wrench and tighten that up. Install your PTO lever. First you put the lever in, you put this spring in, and you get this clip. And put this clip about, a couple inches, maybe an inch or two above the ring that it goes into. Then what I do is put in your Woodruff key. And this is the shifter. And you put it down into the case. Alright? Now, this shifter will go down in the case a little bit farther than it's supposed to, I guess you'd say. Then you can compress this spring up here. I don't know if you can see it or not. This spring. And I don't know, you see the hole right there? Not really. There it is. I'll have to push that in a little bit, but not as far as if I didn't have that already all put in like it's supposed to be. So I'll get that roll pin in there and I'll be back because nobody wants to see me fighting with a roll pin. Of course, it could be quite funny for somebody other than me. As you can see, we got the roll pin holding the spring up there. Now we'll finish the rest of the install. We'll put the Woodruff key, attempt to put the Woodruff key in, I should say. Right there. Okay. Swing this around. And what I'll do is try to get this to go up over that so the woodruff key doesn't fall out of its slot. Got a chance of that, huh? Okay. Okay, get it where it belongs. Now, what we'll have to do, we'll have to take my mallet, which is now missing. Oh, it fell on the floor. It's a long ways down for a guy like me. All right. Sometimes you gotta jam this down in there pretty good. So this may take a minute. There we go. Slide that down. You know what? Heck with that. Oh no, it won't have nothing of that. Alright. Well, I'll get this, fight with this enough to get it down on the clip. Should be able just to get like a long screwdriver and just hit it and it'll slide down the shaft. So we'll go get that and come back. Did it go in? No. Well. Okay, it says in the book, go up here where this spring is, right here. And I'll flex that in there. And there. It went in the groove that time. There she is. That should be basically out of gear. And that should be in gear. Seems like it's rubbing a lot. I'll have to see. There we go. Okay. So to finish the job, there's a split pin or a cotter pin that goes in this hole here. And then out here, I have to take these bolts out and put a lead washer on each one of these bolts. Not this one, but these two, because these are in the gear lube, and this all runs in transmission oil or motor oil, the first reduction gears on the outside here. So they don't want the transmission fluid polluting the motor oil or vice versa. So basically you got to seal these two bolts because the threads go clear through. So they just do them one at a time, put a little lead washer on there, tighten them up. Then when we're done, there's lock wire that goes around these two and this guy here. We'll put some safety wire on all these, and the PTO will be finished. We have the washers put in underneath the bolts that hold on the bearing retainer. We have the lock wire installed to where it won't let any of the bolts back off. If they wanted to turn, they'd have to get tighter. And I don't know if you can see it here in the dark or not, but oh, there's the light. And Paul's got the cotter pin installed. We may have to get them legs tightened up a little bit on that one, but pretty good job. All right, PTO is installed. As you can see, I have the roll pin through the shaft with the spring in. So now we'll go out and do the rest of the install. And of course, the would stop the